Heather Terry is going to join us. Heather is with GARM Clinic at Parrot Tree Plantation. You've been there now for over 10 years. Geez, that's a
We
long time.
have. Yeah, we have. We're so excited to be entering the 11th year of serving Roatan and leading the regenerative movement for medical tourism in Honduras and then throughout Central America. It's a tremendous responsibility, and it's been a fabulous experience.
It's, as a patient, but also as a friend, I know what you do, and I've always been a big fan. I've known people who had to go through the mill, as I call it, the surgery mill in the United States to get problems fixed that never got them fixed. That then, were kind of damaged for life. And I know Dr. Terry very well, and we've talked about this before. And basically, the whole idea that as he's a surgeon, and a lot of people don't really understand that as a surgeon, for some of these people that I've met, that's how they make their money. And he's like, wait a minute, I don't want to do a surgery on you if I could find another way to stop this problem, whatever it is. I want to stop the problem. I want to cure it. I want it to go away. And that's a very different kind of man and a very different kind of philosophy. And that's the kind of philosophy that the clinic, I think, brings to people who need help. So Heather, coming down here, things have changed in the U.S. since the introduction of some of the stem cell therapies. You still have advantages here at the GARM Clinic in offering different types of therapies that other people can't get in the United States. Let's talk about those.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And yes, I agree. Glenn's philosophy is very unique. Although we're starting to see other surgeons adopt this type of approach, a minimal approach, that it's a high reward, low risk for the patient. And as a matter of fact, there are studies that have been conducted by the NIH in the U.S. that show that almost half of all spine surgeries that are performed in the U.S. annually are unnecessary. And a great percentage of total knees and total hips aren't always necessary at the time those surgeries are performed. In addition, the complications and the risks that go along with those surgeries, aren't always acceptable to a lot of patients. So that's why patients are seeking alternatives. If you can catch arthritis early enough or even midway, there is a significant chance that orthobiologics and regenerative medicine can be an effective treatment paradigm. You don't have risks associated with conventional surgery. You don't have downtime associated with conventional surgery. You're back to work and back to life very quickly. So we're very excited to be in the 11th year. And I think the success of the clinic is because of Glenn's philosophy in helping patients get to the root cause rather than just performing a surgery. And he's in a different position because he has the advantage of wisdom. He can look back over the years of evolution of orthopedics and has arrived to the conclusion, and of course through following outcomes of GARM's patients, that the orthobiologics and the regenerative medicine protocols, when well performed, can equal the benefits of a well-performed arthroscopic surgery or even a total joint replacement.
We've talked about this because I had an issue with the hip that was related to, I guess, the beginnings of arthritis, and it was aggravated by a bad golf swing. And other than having a knee problem that would require arthroscopic surgery because I tore the meniscus, we had a treatment. We've done two, and I'm going to say this: the first one was okay, but the second one was perfect. It works great. And when I say that, I mean the amount of pain that I had compared to what I have now is pretty much gone. And I still do exercise and still do things like that. And Roddy McGee, who performed that second procedure along with Dr. Terry, and I had a conversation. I said, well, why is the second one more successful? And he goes, Keith, we're still learning about the doses. I mean, we give you a certain amount of platelets mixed with, a certain amount of other orthobiotics. And the first time we may not give you enough. And we don't know this, but we're being conservative as we do this instead of just giving you a whole boatload at once. And he goes, I think that this is what we're going to discover. And of course, every patient responds differently to these because we're all different in the way we heal. Our age is a certain different age. Our body age is different. And so that's something that I think sometimes people go, well, I had this done and it didn't work. But I know just as many people who have gone, if not more, and their life is a whole lot better. I mean, my friend Nuria couldn't move her hands, couldn't move her shoulders, was crying, was in pain all the time, and was suggested by doctors in Spain, you need this carpal tunnel work done. And they said, well, she said, what is the possibility of success? And they said, it's about 40, 60 that it might work. And that's just not good enough. That's not good enough. And there's almost no risk with a stem cell procedure because it's all your stuff. Anyway, her life was completely changed because of that. Let's talk about something that's been a big hot button. Brian Johnson is a man who decided to devote his time and resources to the idea of anti-aging. There are a large group of doctors that are some people would say 10 years ago, they would say they're out there. Now they're like, no, they're not. Where they're like, okay, the mechanisms that we have for aging don't make any sense. They really don't. And we don't know why we age. Mitochondrial, which gives us energy, mitochondrial function drops twice. It drops around 45 to 55 years old. It drops again in your 60s to 70s. There are other things, telomeres in your DNA, that get shorter over time. And we know these things are problems. And we also know that they stop them clinically and test. And now they're like, well, we could probably stop a lot of this and pretty much halt the aging process that is going on, provided, you're not too far gone. We can't reverse it. We can't make you 40 again, but we can give you a much better life longer. And that's something that's, as a guy who's 66 years old, that's something that is important to me because I still want to play golf. I still want to have a healthy life. I love what I do. I like being on the radio. I don't see any reason to quit. And so this appeals to me. And I'm sure there's more than a few people that are like, I like living. I like being around. I like being able to do things. I want to continue I want to see my grandchildren. So tell us about what's going on with anti-aging and gene therapy, because on Netflix, you were on Netflix doing this with Brian Johnson.
Okay, let me, I'm going to back up first to patient outcomes.
Okay.
So yeah, you talked about Nuria and of course we just love her. She's one of our star pupils and just a fabulous human. That's kind of what keeps GARM and GARM team going, is following the patients, observing the outcomes. We capture outcome data on all the patients so that we can say across the board, we have about 90% positive outcomes. And you just talked about a carpal tunnel surgery that was 40-60, maybe. And we're looking at spine surgeries that have less than 70% optimal outcome. So my goodness, there's no reason to not try orthobiologics and stem cells if you can get close to a 90% positive outcome, which leads me to the longevity movement that you're referring to, because if you could be healthier longer, why wouldn't you? So that was one of the visions when Glenn started GARM, was healthier longer. We've actually just changed our logo tagline to healthier longer, because it fits. That's what we want for people. That's what everyone wants for themselves. If you're going to live to be 90 or 95, or some people, live to 100, don't you want to be able to enjoy life and be as active as possible for as long as possible? And that includes cognition as well. But yeah, the Netflix documentary was a lot of fun. We actually, to tell you the truth, I kind of forgot that had been filmed, because it was a year and a half ago and we've been really busy. And then we get a disclaimer, form or whatever, an email, hey, sign this, it's about to get released. And I thought, what is this? But we had we had a fabulous time getting to know Brian and the producers and the team. They're all very kind, very sweet people. I have to say, a lot of folks don't, it seems to me, they don't understand why Brian is doing the Blueprint project, but I get it after talking to him for half a day. I understand he's not doing this only for himself. He is sharing all of the data, good, bad, ugly, great, whatever, with the world. So in the hopes of figuring out, for other people, hey, this works, this doesn't work. And, the goal really is healthier longer. And we have been on that journey. We're embarking on more advanced pathways in that journey. For example, you mentioned gene therapies. We do have a follistatin gene therapy that does not incorporate into the patient's chromosomal DNA. It's non-heritable. It's temporary. 350 people, across the world so far that we know of have received this therapy. We've had 0 adverse events related to the therapy. So really, what is longevity? Longevity is being able to the practice of longevity is providing the body with the tools it needs to live healthier, longer, a better quality of life. And all of these tools that we're offering at GARM are natural. Follistatin is naturally made. And as you mentioned, Keith, things start falling off and production goes down as you age. Yes, that's true, unavoidable. But what if you can supplement with a naturally occurring human follistatin product? The same thing with nutrition. We offer nutrition guidance for patients to help them stay healthier longer. That's another tremendous tool that people could have in their toolbox to stay healthier longer. Proper nutrition. And proper nutrition, like getting rid of all the ultra-processed foods, avoiding certain food groups, will help reduce the inflammation and help support the mitochondria. And as you mentioned, mitochondrial optimization and mitochondrial function is so important to our day-to-day well-being, to reducing inflammation, and to living healthier longer. So I think all of those things combined, whether it's stem cells, joint preservation, follistatin gene therapy, proper nutrition, all of these things combined can help patients achieve a healthier existence and better quality of life, pain-free, super active.
I was approached by a listener, and they were talking with me, and we were talking about GARM, and they asked me about the diabetes protocols that are being introduced with stem cells and how they work. And I said, I don't know. I really don't understand it. I've not talked to Dr. Terry or Heather about this. And so I wrote you, and that was what basically led to this interview, because as I'm doing my background research, it's estimated that 60% of people in the United States are overweight. Okay, and we know that being overweight. I'm not talking about a little overweight. I'm talking about defined as obese, okay, which is 30 pounds more than they should be carrying. That's a lot. Now, some people find that, oh, well, I'm happy with my body and da, 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 da. It's like, you're happy with your body. This isn't body shaming. This is about you living and having a healthy life. And I mean, I get it. I've had friends who are athletes that were football players, and they're 6'3". There's my height, but they weighed 300 pounds. Okay. And they died early. And they were in the best shape of anybody you ever saw in their 20s and 30s. They were great. And then that ended and it didn't go away. And so as my brother is diabetic, my aunt was diabetic. It runs in my family. I have always been very, take that back. There were a couple of times I was overweight, but I've always been conscious of this. And there was a direct link with diet and with diabetes, but there's also a genetic link. And there is also a way to reverse this, which is being talked about. And so that's what led him to ask you about that. So tell us about those stem cell therapies.
Well, we do have a couple stem cell therapy options that the goal of these therapies is to help support the pancreas and jumpstart the beta cell group working well again. But honestly, these treatments should be paired with lifestyle changes. So it's food choices, it's exercise, and Dr. Humphreys and Dr. Terry are really good about going over those things with patients. So you can't walk in, with your extra large Coke and your fast food model and then do the stem cell treatment, walk back out and hit the bar or the fast food again. Doesn't work like that. So you have to participate as well and help your body accept the tools that you're giving it for repair. And really, maybe this has changed, but type 2 diabetes used to not be considered autoimmune, when in fact several years ago there was a movement to push it into the autoimmune category, which fits. If you read, there's a book called I know you read there's a book called China Study, and I recommend the China Study edited and revised version because it's very unfiltered. It's a fabulous read, but it talks about some reasons, looking at research from 20 and 30 years ago on why obesity and diabetes are so prevalent in the U.S. now. And a lot of it does have to do with food. But look at the lifestyle of young kids now. Are they outside playing? Are they on their bikes? Are they running through the neighborhood? No, they're on their devices, their machines, they're gaming. And that sedentary lifestyle is really terrible for you. And for those of us that have office days and we sit at a desk all day, that's not healthy. You got to get up and move. The body is built to move. So all of these things, I think, lead to, compounding the problem. GARM does have a treatment that's not stem cell. It's called pulsed insulin therapy. And what it does is it uses insulin as a hormone, as it should be used, instead of a drug. So it's low-dose pulsed insulin for type 2 diabetics. You can do it a couple times a week at the clinic for a few months. And then we pay attention to your fasting sugar levels and your A1C. And as those numbers start to normalize and drop, then the physicians will move you to once a week, and then twice a month, and then once a month, and then just some kind of maintenance regimen. So it's a really good option for people who live in Roatan, who are suffering from type 2 diabetes. And in addition, patients report better sleep. They report the symptoms of neuropathy start to reverse and go away. Any wound healing issues, the wounds heal up with this therapy. And oddly enough, it's a lot of patients have reported that they see better hair and skin quality.
Well, let's take that and jump into hair and skin quality. One thing that you and I have talked about a long time is some of the therapies, at GARM Clinic involve aesthetics. We get older, we get spots on our skin wrinkles, it dries out, it doesn't have the collagen, it doesn't adapt. And one day you go, I really wish I could do something about this. And, and people want to look good. And not everybody, it's not for everybody, but that's important, and it makes you feel good. And if you feel good, if you feel you look good, you feel better. So this is actually a real, true, it's not something to be played with. If people want to look better, it makes them feel better. That's part of their whole health regime. You offer aesthetic treatments there that I don't think everybody's aware of, because when they hear the GARM Clinic, it's not like it's GARM Aesthetics. And I don't, but you go into some of those.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to. Thanks for asking. And since you said GARM Aesthetics, there is a GARM Aesthetics Facebook page and Instagram. So people can go and check out what's going on and any promotions that we're having at the facility. But what, all of these things that we've talked about, the healthier, longer, the lifestyle, what about being beautiful inside and out? So you tend to all these inflammation problems and everything that's going on the inside. What about the outside? What about aesthetics? So if you feel good, you look good, you can be your best. Feel your best, look your best, be your best. So we have several different options, all kinds of body sculpting techniques. We have stem cell facelifts, stem cell facials. We can use nano fat, micro fat to use as fillers rather than synthetics, although we do offer synthetics as well. We can do PRP facial. We have all kinds of hair loss protocols, and really anything you would want to do to your face, save a facelift. We have the experienced staff and credentialed physicians and all of the products and the equipment to do that. And it's not just the face, the body as well. We mentioned body sculpting, and really almost every technique we have at this facility is collagen inducing. So not only are we, fixing what we all see on the surface, but we are promoting collagen production just under the surface.
That's a very important thing, and a lot of people hear the word collagen, but they're not sure exactly what it is. And my basic understanding of collagen, because I take supplements for protein, and I take two different kinds, and one because as I've gotten older, I want to maintain as much lean muscle mass as possible. And so I work out on a daily basis. I usually spend probably about an hour. I'm doing some aerobics. I do a lot of mobility work, which is something new. That's the stuff where you're thinking, why am I doing this? It hurts. It doesn't hurt that much, but it's just stretching. And it's amazing what happens when your body's able to stretch. But the components of your body that help you stretch are all based on collagen, because that's where you get a lot of your joints, a lot of your bone mass comes from collagen production. Your skin is totally almost collagen, and that stops. When does that stop in your life cycle? When do you start noticing that?
Well, I do know that I don't know the exact point in time when collagen production slows down. But what I do know is once we hit our late 20s, a lot of the proteins that are beneficial kind of start to taper off. And certainly by 40, those have tapered off tremendously. And then goes
couple
back
that with bad diet, and you're really in trouble.
Yeah, no kidding. Bad habits and bad lifestyle. It's it can be snowball effect. But I also think that by supporting your mitochondria and living a healthy lifestyle, you can build that back up. Yeah, I supplement collagen too, definitely. But there's no reason we can't, wherever we are in life, stop and reverse some of this, lengthen those
Right.
telomeres. So, and
Someone would,
you can lengthen those.
yeah, we let's talk about that. So telomeres were these basic strands on the end of our DNA, and they're like just buffer zones. And as you get older, they break off,
Mm-hmm.
and they're there to protect the DNA until they get to a certain point, and then your DNA starts going bad because you've lost the telomeres. So
Yeah.
telomere lengthening, that's a very, very, kind of simplified version of it. Telomere lengthening, though, occurs, and we know this. We know that when people were doing the hyperbaric pressure chamber test in Israel, that they did a study over a 2-month study with, I think, 30 or 40 people, and everybody's telomeres went up. Their physical age went down. Now they were doing this every day for like an hour for 60 days, so it's a large study and it's a lot of time. What are you finding? What is the discovery now?
Well, first of all, think of a telomere like a cap on the end of a shoelace, and over time that does wear down. And there are so many different factors, and scientists, I think, are just starting to figure out some of the factors that come into play in either shortening those or lengthening those, the caps, the telomeres. And you're right, they do protect the chromosomes. So, really what it seems to boil down to: stress, sleep. That's why sleep is such a big deal. Nutrition, exercise. What we have found in the patients that we followed, which would be the follistatin study that was done, is that those patients did experience telomere lengthening. And as a matter of fact, they had an average epigenetic age decrease of 7 years. So what does that mean? Maybe they picked up more time, but their mitochondria thinks that they're younger than they are. So their physiologic age is younger than the chronologic age. Now, is it just because of follistatin? It's impossible to say, because these patients were also they adhere to healthy diets, they exercise. But if you look at the literature, some studies show that even meditation, 20 minutes a day, can lengthen those telomeres. So do you need to get fancy? Not really. No, you need to adjust your lifestyle, your diet, get enough sleep, try to figure out ways to mitigate stress, exercise, and maybe meditation or yoga, something like that. That can also, not only does it help the telomeres, it helps your body, and it helps your mental health.
We could all use more of that.
Yeah, we could.
Heather, it's great seeing you. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Keith. Great being here. Good to be seen.